Feminism in Korea is at another level, and they have channeled this energy of going against the patriarchy into simply just not partaking in their womanliness within the society, in some ways going as extreme as wanting to kill men.
So Korea's birth rate is so low. Would you like to hear an opinion from a Korean woman?
Hello, amazing viewer. I'm glad to have you. Compliment of the season. I appreciate that you're spending your precious time with me, and I'm sure you're enjoying your time. And if you're not, try to have some fun. Try hard. It's been long. I've missed you guys. I've missed you so much, and we are back. And let's dive into today's video without further ado. Let's dive into this. These are Korean women, man. Also, we'll be hearing from an outsider who's an American who has interacted with Koreans, and we'll be listening to different perspectives about the issue of low childbirth. If you've been watching news, you know that in Korea they're going through a crisis right now, and from some sources they're saying that Korea is about to be wiped off. The history, its history is drowning right now because there are no children. So let's listen to what these women have to say. Stay tuned. I love interacting. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Marianne, and I talk about cultural differences. So I am that Korean woman who should be getting married and have lots of babies, but I have no plan of doing that right now, and I'll tell you why. Part 1, I'm going to talk about more of the psychological, emotional side that I feel. So number 1, there's just so much negativity about marriages and having children. It's almost as if it's stupid to get married and have babies. There are TV shows in Korea that show people who are depressed and just really unhappy because they're married, but they hesitate to go through a divorce because they have children, so they just remain miserable and just really, really unhappy. There are comedy shows, and so many people joke about how there's no romance after getting married, and they freak out if their partner tries to kiss you or touch you because you're not supposed to do that to family members. And they're always joking and looking for opportunities to stay away from their partners. Finally, there are programs that show kids out of control, constantly causing issues, and the mother is crying her eyes out and the husband sitting next to her is just sighing heavily. Now, who would be in that situation? I don't. And I'm pretty sure they didn't volunteer to be in that situation either. Number 2, followed by that, there are well-known Korean expressions like 무자식이 상팔자다, which means being childless is a blessing. 다시 키워봐야 아무 소용없다, which means it's pointless to raise a child because you'll be disappointed. 결혼은 미친 짓이다, the idea of marriage is crazy. And on top of that, when you have a conversation with a married couple who have been married for a long time, they often don't recommend you get married, especially women. So I asked some Korean women 2 questions. If you could go back in time, 1, would you get married again? And 2, would you have a child again? And I asked them with a serious tone because I didn't want them to joke about it. And I was quite surprised by their answers. So they said having a child is definitely an experience worth going through. So they would have a child, but not marriage, or with a different man. But I don't know whether that was a joke or not. In reality, their answers are so unrealistic because, like I said, in Korea, if you have a baby without being married or without a husband, you'll be judged so much, which is why couples and celebrities would rush into marriages when they find out that they're having a baby. And number 3, during daily conversations and interactions I have with people, especially married women, they often talk about how stressed they are because of their husbands, the children, or their in-laws, and it almost becomes like a competition, whose is worse. And they tell us single ladies that we are lucky to be single, and that if we can be financially independent, it's better to stay single. In the old days, if you are not married by 30, 35, seniors would put pressure on you, but nowadays they actually encourage you not to rush. And especially mothers and grandmothers, they say if you don't find the right man, don't bother getting married to them, it's not worth it. it. You know, it's very different from the old times, I think. Especially women in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. We grow up witnessing and experiencing how stressful and unfair life can be as a working mother. We don't want that. Now, I'm sure there are many, many happy marriages, but listening to all these stories and being surrounded by all this negativity about marriages and having children, and like I said, none of them would have signed up for that. And knowing this, am I ready to risk all that and let go of all my freedom and peace? I don't know. Maybe if I meet the love of my life, which is another issue. But I'm sure these people married the love of their lives too, you know? And I didn't even mention any of the practical issues like money, housing, career, more money, raising a child in such competitive society, more financial burdens. Yeah, the government is doing stuff, but Korean people just laugh at it.
That we ourselves question even living in this country. Number one, guys are exiting the dating market, and economic conditions, it's just too expensive to raise a family, to get married, and there are all these subtle pressure that if you get married, guys are the ones that's supposed to buy the house, have the house ready, which is impossible to have if you're like a 30-year-old guy, and average like house pricing, you'll never be able to afford one in your life.
Random facts about Korea part 4. South Korea has the lowest birth rate in the world. In February of 2022, new records showed that South Korea had the lowest birth rate of 0.78, which is the number of babies born to a woman. And at the same exact time, marriage rates are down 35%. Let's get into this. More and more people are prioritizing their career and work over having a family. In one of my videos, we talked about how South Korea has the highest suicide rates in the world. This correlates to the lowest birth rate in the world. Now, I know that you can have a family and a career at the same time, but we can't deny that it doesn't come with some sacrifice. And if you have it all without sacrificing anything, let's be honest, it's a privilege. People in Korea can't fathom failure or not being the best, but the society picks a new best player every single minute, so you can only imagine that the competition is unrealistic. I will say this is one issue that the Korean government is taking very seriously. Korea has invested billions of dollars into policies that support new mothers, such as paid parental leave for a year and a half, exceptional childcare policies, and a stipend of 1 million won a month to parents with a child under 1 year old. 1 million won, which is the Korean currency, is equivalent to about $750 US, 600 pounds, or 690 euros. Now, I fully understand that this is still not enough, but I truly do think that this is a starting place, and South Korea truly cares about this issue. However, this still doesn't entice Korean women to have children or raise a family. This is because South Korea is still an immutable patriarchy, so women are expected to do it all. They're expected to do all the chores, raise the kids, and now on top of it, work, because single-family working homes can no longer afford apartments. I'm absolutely heartbroken that my country has the lowest birth rate, but do I blame them? No. In that circumstance, why would I want to bring a child into this world to sacrifice my sanity and theirs? Where I understand that this might cause a future financial crisis, good for the women of Korea for standing up for themselves. What are your guys' personal feelings on this topic? Now, I know that all over the world, women are having less and less children for this reason, but do I think it's that bad? No, I really don't.
Feminism in Korea is at another level, and they have channeled this energy of going against the patriarchy into simply just not partaking in their womanliness within the society, in some ways going as extreme as wanting to kill men. The level of feminism can be best represented by the 4P movement, not B as in the letter B, but the term P, which means to be against or not. First, starting with P hon, which means no marriage, P yone, which means no dating, P chusan, no kids, and P sex, which means no sex. All of this is their direct response to not being want to be a part of contributing to or adhering to the patriarchy, their perception of wanting to not participate in essentially continuing down family values or traditional values, being a part of a relationship or any interaction with their male counterparts. What are your thoughts on this extreme version of feminism, which not necessarily is about equality, but more about holding themselves back from being a part of a traditional male-female based society? Let me know your thoughts.
Before I start this video, I want to say that this is something I heard from my Korean guy friend, who is 32 for reference, but I've also heard basically the same thing from a lot of my Korean girlfriends. So take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, there are no rules to dating, but this is just something that I've heard. So in Korea, you'll always see a lot of couples. Couples culture is huge. A lot of Koreans tend to get into relationships really fast, but also break up really fast. In the US, you don't see this as often, and I think a lot of the reason for that is because relationships in the US progress a lot slower. When you start dating a guy in the US, usually you're seeing him regularly for at least a couple months before you make the relationship official. The getting to know you process is a lot more drawn out. In Korea, relationships progress a lot faster. Many Koreans want to put the relationship label on it right away and get to know each other while you're technically already in a relationship. They just think we get to know each other while we're dating, and if we don't like each other, we can just break up. So this brings me to the 3-date rule. Apparently, in Korea, it only takes 3 dates until you should be in an official relationship, give or take, obviously. In 3 dates, the guy should confess and then ask you to be his girlfriend. And during this 3-date period, both of you should be exclusively seeing each other. In the US, it's not uncommon to be casually dating multiple people at the same time, but in Korea, it's considered having bad manners. Also, during this 3-date period, it's still very innocent. Most people won't even sleep together until they're actually in an official relationship. So if you're seeing a Korean guy and it's been a couple months and you're still not in an official relationship, or if he's trying to convince you that it's normal for him to still be playing the field and not committing, he's probably trying to take advantage of you. A lot of the F-boys here will treat foreigner girls like crap, but the second they go back to dating a Korean girl, they're courting her and they're abiding by all the common courtesy. So if you've been seeing a guy for a while and you're sleeping with him and you're expecting it to turn into a relationship, my advice would be to just cut it off. I think it's important to talk about this because as foreigners, you may think it's normal for a relationship to start out this way. So just be aware. And also from personal experience, if a Korean guy likes you, he will pursue you really hard. Obsessive texting, calling, wanting to see you all the time. And he will ask you to be his girlfriend very soon after you first met. Even though it feels really weird if you're American and you're used to American guys, if a Korean guy really likes you, you would never be sat wondering where the relationship's going, if he really likes you. It would be very clearly on that path.